It was just after midnight when the key stopped working. I remember the sound first, not the click it should have made, but the dull refusal of metal meeting a lock that no longer recognized me. I tried once more, slower, as if patience might persuade it. The hallway light flickered the way it always did, casting that familiar yellow cone that used to mean home. The door opened from the inside. My parents stood there without stepping aside. They didn't raise their voices. They didn't need to. My mother said it evenly, as if reading a notice posted somewhere official. "You don't live here anymore." My father added that the locks had been changed. Because of an emergency. He said it like a legal term, like something pre-approved by a higher authority. He didn't look at my face when he said it. He looked at the doorframe, as though measuring whether I might cross it anyway. I asked what emergency. My mother repeated the word approved. My father said it was late and we shouldn't make a scene. The door closed with a carefulness that hurt more than a slam. I stood there longer than I want to admit, holding a key that now belonged to a different version of my life. Then I put it in my pocket, because I didn't know what else to do with it. The night became a series of places that weren't meant for staying. A bus stop bench slick with dew. A 24-hour diner where I ordered coffee I didn't drink. The coat I'd grabbed on the way out never came off. Every time I shifted, it reminded me that I hadn't planned for this. I thought anger would arrive immediately, loud and clarifying. It didn't. What arrived was logistics. Where to charge my phone. How long until morning. Whether I should call someone and what, exactly, I would say without breaking. By the time the sky lightened, I felt hollowed out, like something essential had been removed while I wasn't looking. The management office opened at 9. I was there at 8:30, sitting on the low brick wall outside because it felt better than pacing. When they unlocked the door, I followed the smell of cleaner and old carpet inside, and took the chair closest to the exit. I didn't take my coat off. The manager asked how she could help. I said my key didn't work anymore. I said my parents told me there had been an emergency lock change. I said my name slowly, ready to repeat it. She typed. The computer made small, decisive noises. She nodded once, the way people do when they expect a problem to resolve itself. Then she stopped. She leaned closer to the screen. Scrolled back up, clicked into something else. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. She looked at me, not with sympathy yet, but with concentration. "Do you mind waiting right here?" she said. I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. She opened the work order again. This time, I saw her finger trace the date, the authorization field, the signature box that wasn't signed the way it should have been. The color drained from her face, in a way that felt oddly validating, like proof that I hadn't imagined the night. She picked up the phone. "Stay right here," she whispered, covering the receiver with her hand. "We're calling the police." The word police didn't land like justice. It landed like gravity, heavy, inescapable, real. This was no longer a family matter, no longer something that could be reframed as concern or discipline or misunderstanding. This was paperwork that didn't add up. While she spoke, I stared at a bulletin board advertising community yoga and lost cats. I focused on my breathing. I thought about how my parents would explain this if they could still control the story. When the officer arrived, there was no drama. No raised voices. He asked questions the way people do when answers matter. The manager handed over the file. The officer frowned, not at me but at the screen. An emergency lock change required specific criteria. None of them were there. He asked if I had personal belongings inside. I said yes. He asked if I had been given notice. I said no. He nodded once, making a note. There was a moment, small, almost invisible, when control shifted, not with a bang, but with a pen scratching paper. The narrative moved out of the hallway and into a system that didn't care who was related to whom. My parents arrived later. They looked surprised to see me sitting there, coat still on, as if I'd exceeded my role in their version of events. My mother started to speak, then stopped when she saw the officer. What followed wasn't confrontation. It was clarification. They said emergency again. The officer asked them to define it. They said they'd been worried. The officer asked if worry met the standard. He pointed to the form. He used the word unauthorized. I watched their faces change, not into remorse, exactly, but into something cautious. The confidence they'd worn at midnight didn't fit here. This room didn't respond to cold certainty. It responded to evidence. Access was restored that afternoon. Not as an apology, not as reconciliation, but as a correction. When I finally went back, it didn't feel like returning home. It felt like retrieving items from a place that no longer belonged to me emotionally. I packed slowly. I left things behind on purpose, proof that I wasn't trying to reclaim what had already been given away. By evening, my coat came off. I folded it over the back of a chair in a borrowed room, somewhere temporary and clean. I signed my name on a new lease later that week. My handwriting shook less than I expected. I don't tell this story because the outcome was triumphant. There was no celebration. There was just a quiet, professional resolution and the knowledge that adulthood sometimes begins when someone else overreaches and the world, briefly, notices. What stayed with me wasn't the lock or the hallway or even the officer's notebook. It was the moment in the office, when a manager went pale. Not because she pitied me, but because the rules had been broken and that mattered. That was when I understood power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just picks up the phone.